I'm focusing on how a group of community members have come together to create exhibits here at the Taylor House Museum that are focused on local African American historical storytelling. So what is evident with the discussions in my pilot project and listening to people telling stories, we knew that for these exhibits, we wanted there to be other elements besides just sort of printed word. The part that I really enjoyed the most were these conversations. You know, we talked about Reverend Charles Albert Tindley. Some things are known about his history, but a lot is not, because a lot of his history was not written down. And he was born to a mother who was free, but his father was enslaved. And so there's not certainly a lot of written documentation about Charles Albert Tindley until he got older. So we definitely had sort of two things happening: the conversations themselves as part of this research group, but then also this idea of so much of information about Reverend Charles Albert Tindley is sort of oral histories or sort of folklore, and we thought about how we could share that information. A lot of my readings were about social literacy and, meaning made from groups. And then also I did a lot of research about African American sort of historical storytelling, and again, this idea that a lot of information was not written down. And so how folklore and storytelling is very, very prominent in African American history. One of the things I have learned about the town is how all these histories are all connected. For example, Charles Albert Tindley, who's sort of having a moment right now because we have our new exhibit, and just down the street they're doing a mural of Charles Albert Tindley on a side of one of the buildings in Berlin. So it was great to learn something about Berlin that I did not know. And the same thing with the other exhibit that we created, the Burdell family. The Burdell family is an African American family who in 1866, along with several other African American families, at the very end of the Civil War, were able to purchase acres of land just east of Berlin. And there are several hundred descendants now. The original sort of matriarch and patriarch were George and Martha Burdell, and their descendants number in probably around the 500s. But there are still direct descendants of George and Martha Burdell who still own that land in what they call Burdelltown. So what I'm starting to see is there are all these really interesting connections that were just waiting to be sort of woven together, I think. And I think the other thing I have learned through this research is I think the power of intent, and how just starting one thing sends ripples out into a community that are way, way beyond this particular research project.